Okay, welcome to this channel. So glad that you decided to come back here today. And I know why you clicked on the channel. So we're going to dive right in. We have a lot of information that we're going to try to get through as quickly as possible, but it is important that we take a little time to understand the content of this information that will be given. You clicked on this title because you are curious or would like to know my stance on why I say I am not African American. So today we're going to go through some proof. I believe in having your evidence, your receipts, whatever you want to call it, to prove exactly what is being said, to back that up with evidence. So I do recommend, highly recommend, that you study, you do your research to prove me wrong, if that's what you find. But I hope that this video will help you along your journey. Um, I am not an African American. I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in to prove my position on this, and hopefully I could read some of your comments um, about what you think about the content that will be shared on today. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We will start with something that I found on um, TikTok, and it basically, when I found this on TikTok, it really, really surprised me. Let's begin.
How do I say this respectfully? I'm not your people. You're not my people. I don't roll like that. Just because we have the same skin color doesn't mean that you're my people or vice versa. And this is something that I've seen as an immigrant who has been living in the United States of America for more than a decade now. This past couple of years, people like you see me and automatically assume that I'm a slave descendant, my ancestors are slaves, and then they expect us to think the same way, act the same way, or believe in the same things. And
So that was the TikTok video, and she was actually responding to a comment that she had on, I guess, in her inbox on TikTok, and it says, "I wish my people would be free from the slave religion they force on us." We will be talking about that, God willing, in part two, the religious aspect of it. But this is the mindset of African people, even those who are in America today. They may have a braiding shop or a phone store, or whatever. They do not consider us to be their people. I do get why we tend to gravitate to Africa. We were given that name. We'll get into that later on in the video. But we needed to be a part of something. We wanted to feel a part of a heritage, because everything, when we got over here via the Atlantic slave trade, those who came that way over here, we wanted to be a part of something, and everything that we had any type of knowledge on, even the language that we spoke prior to the Atlantic slave trade, all of that was stripped away from us. So I do get the part where we want to gravitate to some type of history, some type of heritage, some type of culture. But this young lady clearly says,
how do I say this respectfully? I'm not your people. You're not my people. I don't roll like that. Just because we have the same skin color doesn't mean that you're my people or vice versa.
that's all I need to hear. So that's our first receipt and this is the mindset of a lot of Africans, which is why they really, over the hundreds of years, they haven't been interested in us coming back over there. Um, and we'll find out why in a few moments. Give me a second and let's move on to the second video. And this video um, is of a popular movie that came out some years ago. Black people, we flooded the movie theater when this movie came out, the Black Panther. Um, we flooded the movies, and I get it. You know, especially when I was growing up, I was speaking with my mom earlier. Growing up, it was hard to find a black baby doll. You know, by the time we got to the stores, they had ran out of like your baby Heathers. I was able as a child to get a black cricket doll. But the baby Heathers, the ones that, you know, you could change their diaper and you could feed them. We went to several Toys R Us, I remember, as a little girl, and we went to Sears Surplus and we went to different stores and we couldn't find a black baby Heather. Um, but I say all that to say, um, with the movie Black Panther, I loved it, minus the rituals that are often found in a lot of African cultures. Um, Anytime that we're on the major screen, especially over here in the West, we're always associated with dark magic, voodoo, um, just different type of dark magic and witchcraft. That also took place on the Frog Princess or the Princess and the Frog, which is a Disney movie that we also was very excited for because that was our actual black princess, and she remained a frog longer than she was a princess in the movie. And not only that, but they associated again with us. The villain in that movie, he dealt with dark magic, he dealt with voodoo, and that was associated in a children's cartoon, and that's how we were viewed upon. So let's go to Black Panther. Watch this scene.
Y'all sitting up here comfortable.
Comfortable.
Must feel good. It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder. Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
And what tools are those?
Vibranium. Your weapons.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world. It is not our way to be judge, jury, and executioner for people who are not our own.
Not wrong.
Are those?
Vibranium. Your weapons.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world. It is not our way to be judge, jury, and executioner for people who are not our own.
Not wrong.
It is not our way to be judge, jury, and executioner for people who are not our own.
Not wrong.
It was not by coincidence that that part wasn't snuck up in there. Again, another testimony of how Africans, for the most part, look at us as Black Americans. They do not consider us to be a part of their culture. They do not consider us to be a part of them. So those are two witnesses that we have testifying to that fact. Now, when I started this journey, it was a few years ago. I would say probably about 7, 8, 9 years ago. And I started with a documentary that I had seen at my best friend's house. She popped in the DVD. And when that Hidden Colors one came out, it blew me away. I mean, I saw things the very next day in a whole different light. I was looking at different people, such as the Asians and and even some of the Italians and just different ones. And I was like, oh, we all are a part, like we're all related, which we are, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. So Hidden Colors, after it came out, I got all 4 DVDs. I really enjoyed the DVDs. I think his name is Tariq, the founder and the creator of Hidden Colors. He had a lot of information in there, in this documentary, and I really enjoyed it. But there still was a piece that wasn't sitting right with me. It was still something that I was missing. Didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew that there was something else to the story. And I think it had a lot, I know it had a lot to do with the spiritual aspect of it. Throughout this documentary, you had Christians, you had, I believe, even Jewish people, you had Muslims, you had a little bit of everybody, and everybody had their own take, if any, when it came down to the belief culture of us as a people. Keeping in mind that Africa is a continent, I think it takes about 4 United States to make up that body of land. Over there, you have over 100 languages, and you have a lot of different um, tribes over there. So keep in mind the next clip that we're going to watch. Keep in mind that when the Europeans or the Portuguese came over there to gather some slaves, they just wasn't over there picking up just the first people who they saw. No, that was against the rules. They had a particular tribe. They had particular tribes that they were only allowed to get. And the reason why um, they were able to get these slaves is because the Africans over there knew that we were not of the same people. Just like these people who we just witnessed today let us know how they really feel about us. So moving forward, after I got through with Hidden Colors, I came across another documentary that was really interesting. And that documentary was about Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. He did several segments of being black in America, being black in South America, being black, I think, in Brazil, being black in Africa. And so he went to these different sections of the world, and he wanted to see the experience of black people in certain areas. He did go to, or spoke with some Africans that were very versed in the history of the slave trade. I couldn't find that clip. I looked and I looked and I couldn't find it. And I didn't want to have to go through um, trying to find it on PBS. But this is something that he said. He is a professor, I believe, at Harvard University. And I want to stress that because when we go to a higher learning, when we are in universities and things of that nature, we are educated, but we are educated with the materials that is acceptable for society or the majority. So a lot of things that are said, a lot of information that we have gotten in the past have came from a particular agenda. And that agenda was for us to believe for all of these years that we were Africans. And this is what Professor Henry Louis Gates Jr. said. And let me let you listen to it.
Slavery was big business. Africans sold other Africans to the Europeans.
He said Africans sold other Africans. That's not true. Africans sold certain tribes to the Europeans and the Portuguese. So I'm going to play that again. But it is now confirmed, and we knew this, that we were sold by Africans to the European nations. So this is what he said again.
Slavery was big business. Africans sold other Africans to the Europeans. We can only.
So, I wanted to bring that out. He does have, like I said, a documentary um, on being black in different areas of the world. And it's also a very good documentary that I enjoyed. You just have to read between the lines. So, I know you're probably asking now, so if we're not African, then what and who are we? And let's grab proof. This is a Zondervan's, I don't know why I say Zondervan's, Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Mostly all of your pastors have this book. Um, your elders would have this book. This is a great reference book that is used for words and for research. And I'm going to go ahead and start with this other documentary that I found that really blew my mind. It helped to the pieces that I was missing from Hidden Colors, the pieces that I was missing from Being Black in America. This right here kind of tied it in for me. And this was the beginning of a whole new direction that I was taking in my journey in finding out exactly who we are. And I'll leave it at that. So let's look at that. And as you can see, he referenced the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary, and that's what I have here.
And one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Wait. The churches and the pastors, which are set up by the government, all teach in unison a doctrine that all black people come from the seed of Ham. But once you open up scholastic sources, you'll find out that the biblical scholars say something totally different from what's taught in Orthodox Christianity. What do they mean by Ham is the father of the dark races but not the Negroes? The Negroes themselves are a dark race of people, so how can you say that Ham is the father of all these dark races and exclude the Negroes? What are the biblical scholars trying to convey? What the biblical scholars are saying is that you're not African. There's only 4 families, according to the Bible, that make up the native population of Africa, or the land of Ham. And the biblical scholars know that you don't descend from any one of those 4 families.
That's deep, y'all. That's deep because even in today's society, they will tie us into the Ethiopians, which is not correct. Or they will tie us in under the Canaanites, which is incorrect. Again, the Bible Dictionary. I don't know how to do it when I'm doing it like this. Okay, Ham. Here's Ham. The youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. We're going to come back to this. If you get a chance, this hidden identity of blacks in the Bible will change and blow your mind. So please feel free. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of times when information like this is available online, they don't keep it on here too long. Because, well, that's a different story, but they don't keep really good stuff on here too long. So take what you will with that one. Now we know that we are not African. Let me go into this part right here and let him explain a little bit more of what he found.
Together with the Egyptologists, which supplied him with the mummy heads, and what he did was conduct an extensive research on the cranial remains of the heads in Egypt, in contrast to the cranial remains of the heads in America. And what he found out is that the Negroes that were in slavery were not Africans. He found out that the skulls were two totally different types of skulls. The Negro's head was longer than the Egyptian head. The physical characteristics from the outside look similar, with the thick lips and the broad nose. But once you start delving into the real characteristics, they found out that they were two totally different people, as abolitionists and colonizationists had maintained, and that in fact, blacks had been relegated to the same servile position in ancient Egypt as in modern America. But
that's very important. We will get into that at the next video. But basically, they were saying that the same people who served in Egypt, served the Egyptians, are the same people that were on the Atlantic slave trade. And we're going to get into that more so that because that comes with scriptures. But right now, we're just going into part one on why I am not African American. So, let me get another witness. And here we go.
All right, now what else?
There's a few quick. What is it, Pop?
What is it? This box could contain positive proof I'm a king and you a prince.
What are you talking about, Fred Sanford?
Be patient. Incoming junk should be seen and not heard. I'll let you know shortly.
Hey, come on, Pop. What is it?
Wait a minute. Look at it. Have you eyes but see not? Which would come in handy if you're looking at Esther. See, this is our family crest, son, right here. And look at that crown. I am a king. There it is right there. I've been right all along. See, that's the crown, and right there, that's Ethiopia. That's where my family came from. And right here, see, that's black and white hand intermingle. Whatever that means. And then here's a shield showing that we were great warriors.
With a Jewish star on it.
Yeah. I wonder what that means.
That means, Fred Sanford, if I know my Bible, and I know my Bible, you are a descendant of a king of the Jews. And if you...
I wonder what that means.
That means, Fred Sanford, if I know my Bible, and I know my Bible, you are a descendant of a king of the Jews. And if you're a king, you're also Jewish.
Jewish?
Gee, that's...
Now, we're going to get into that in part two. But it was amazing because this was Fred Sanford, I would say in the 70s. Yeah, I think it was in the 70s when this came out. So, of course, the information that is available now wasn't as available then, or it took extra work. You had to go do your research. You had to go to the library. You had to look at different references and stuff. But Red Fox, which was Fred Sanford, he said, I knew it. I knew something was it. Now, he kind of got mixed up with the Ethiopian because we just learned that we're not a part of Ethiopia, but he was on the right track into finding out who we really are and who we really were. So we have heard from the lady from TikTok that we're not African. Black Panther gave us a clue during the movie that we're not African. We found out through the hidden identity of blacks in the Bible and the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. We found out that we are not a part of the African families. Fred just took us there and we found out a little segment there, a clue. So with all of this, all of these receipts, all of this proof that I'm giving, just for part one, because I have more, you will probably say, well, where did we get this African stuff from? African American. Well, I remember I think it was 1988, I remember being in elementary school. I remember Jesse Jackson running for president. I remember him coming up with the name African American. I remember that just as clear as day. And when that happened, shortly after, you had like the Cosby Show that embraced the African American heritage, and more so the other show, A Different World, that pretty much took place on a college campus. And you had a lot of students that had the little circle necklace with the African print on it, or the the African symbol in it. We started wearing the kente cloths. The women started wearing the little, I don't know what you call them, but they look like crowns that sit up. We really, really, really gravitated to the African culture once it was determined that we were African American. And so let me just play this little clip. I'm getting close to the end, but let's
Since
just play this little clip.
1619 and the arrival of the first enslaved Africans in Virginia, standard terminology to describe Africans living in America was colored or Negro. For over 360 years, as blacks were relegated to second-class citizenship, terms that reinforced oppression have been used to describe them. But as centuries pass, black people have at times fought to break free from derogatory labels. After the Civil War, several black people dispensed with the names given them by their former enslavers. This would continue even into the 1900s when, during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, black leaders strongly rebelled against Jim Crow labels. But for mainstream America, a major turning point came in the late 1980s. On this day in 1988, a group of black leaders, including Reverend Jesse Jackson and representatives from the NAACP, met to discuss the national black agenda. It was here that Jackson and his peers catapulted the term African American into the country's lexicon. The term has been used since the 1970s, but never gained widespread acceptance until after this Chicago convention. Reverend Jackson said, "To be called African Americans has cultural integrity. It puts us in our proper historical context. Every ethnic group in this country has a reference to some land base, some historical cultural base. African Americans have hit that level of cultural maturity." Jackson stated that other races could connect their heritage to their mother countries with a sense of pride and acceptance. The term rose to prominence because it was considered more appropriate than black or colored.
There you have it. Again, I understand why we wanted to be a part of something. You know, we had been stripped from everything. We didn't come over here speaking English. That was something that was taught. Our native tongue was stripped away from us. Our customs and the way that we went about our everyday life was stripped from us. So I understand wanting to gravitate to something, but let's not gravitate to anything that wants really nothing to do with us, because they already know we're not the same people. In my previous video, I think I did, It was called Trump versus Biden, or Biden versus Trump. And in that video, I mentioned, if you watched it, I mentioned for you to hold on to a statement that was said by the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King. I truly believe that everything that he did in good intent. But towards the end of his life, he became a threat. He was no longer fulfilling the needs and the desires and the expectations of those he had to go to try to get these things moved. But one of the last interviews that Dr. King had was with the gentleman. I forgot his last name, but I think his first name was Harry. And one of the last things he said was, I fear that I have led my people into a burning house. Now, this was at the end of segregation. We're getting ready to integrate. What do you mean, Dr. King? What do you mean that you fear that you have led your people into a burning house? And that statement, I want to carry that statement from one video to the next video while we're on this type of topic. Dr. King understood what exactly was going on at the very end of his life, and he said that there was already a runner-up for his position, and that runner-up was Jesse Jackson. He was ready to take on the torch if necessary and follow the agenda that was before him and that was expected of him. Okay, so we have covered a lot within a short amount of time. And we are going to get deeper in this for part 2. I don't know how many parts it will be of this particular discussion. I am not an African American, but whatever direction that I'm led to do, I'm going to obey and just go with the flow. Please watch these videos that I shared with you on today as well. Share it with your family and your friends. It's just time for a healing. It's time for a healing, and it's time for us to know the truth. So until next time, please leave your comments, your questions in the comment bar. I don't know it all. I will try to find the answer for you. But we will get into some deeper depths on the next video. And I thank you so much for stopping by, and I look forward to you becoming a part of this family.